Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hi there, a very warm welcome to the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and in the company of my Racing Post colleagues James Hill and Paul Keeley, as well as from Paddy Power, Frank the Tank Hickey, we're going to look ahead to the fourth and final day of the York Ebor meeting, featuring the eponymous highlight of the week, the 3:35, the Betfred Ebor Handicap. We've also got some group action at Goodwood, decent stuff elsewhere. In Britain and Ireland on Saturday, and then on Sunday we will be turning the focus on some decent stuff at the Curragh, including the Irish Cambridgeshire. OK, so we'll start off by saying a warm Friday postcast welcome to James. James, you've done a Monday with Maddie, haven't you? But this is your Friday debut, isn't it? So
first time I've done one on the Friday. Yeah.
Excellent. So if so we'll let people find out a little bit about you. What do you prefer, flat or jumps?
Oh, jumps, man.
Good man. Corto or Denman?
Corto, every day.
OK, fair enough. Favourite race course?
It's Cheltenham, definitely.
Cheltenham, good
Love
stuff.
Sandown too.
OK,
yeah.
And Quavers or Twiglets?
Quavers.
Yeah?
No, not a Twiglets man at all.
What are you there, Kills?
Twiglets, all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love
That's right. Frank, you got a view on that?
I assume they're crisps, but I've never eaten either of them.
Hang on. Now, we know Paul Keeley's never owned a pair of blue jeans, but you're telling me you've never eaten Quavers or Twiglets?
No, never. I don't even know what Twiglets are.
I had Twiglets when I was about 6, and I've been put off with them ever since.
I can't believe it.
You obviously don't like Marmite, Jim.
I can't get over that. You've never had Quavers. OK, right, let's go. York. It's been a really, really interesting week so far, and rounding it off on Saturday, fantastic card. We'll do the hard race first. It's the 3:35, like I say, the Betfred Ebor Handicap. And Frank, before we get your tips, tell us how you're betting.
Fly Me to the Stars, our favourite at 6-1. Ivan Grozny 7-1. Magic Circle 8-1. Then Scarlet Dragon, Top Tug and Dubcar 10-1. Nikita and Wild Hactor 12-1. And Soldier in Action Battersea 14s, and we're 16-1 bar.
And where are we on the each way terms? We got fifth place.
We're a fifth, 5 places in this.
Jolly good. OK, James, you're the Friday debutant, so you go first. Who's going to win the Ebor?
Hopefully Nikita. That's the horse I backed anti-post. Likes York, has run well quite a few times there, including behind Magic Circle last season. I think it's about £3 better off with that horse. Plus, Callum Rodriguez has been booked, and that's taking off £5 as well. Trainer was second with a horse last year, so he's got good form in the race too. I think he's a good, solid stayer, good, solid each-way bet.
What price did you get?
I got about 33s.
Flash bastard. Kills, who do you like in the Ebor?
Yeah, I like two that ran at Royal Ascot in the same race. They were 3rd and 4th, Star Storm and Top Tug. Now, Star Storm's a bigger price, quite possibly because there's a little bit of a worry about him over the trip. But he ran over 2 mile, half a furlong at Newcastle in December, and he was running all over Winning Story at the 2 furlong pole. Clearly didn't stay. I think 1 mile 6 will end up being perfect for him. He's been staying on in his 2 races this season. First one, he was second to Desert Encounter in a listed race at Ascot. Now, the winner there has gone on and been 3rd in the Eclipse, has gone up loads in the weight since, and then Starstorm was 3rd to Rare Rhythm, not getting a run at Ascot. I just think that he might just 1 mile 6 might be perfect for him. He's a strong traveller. I wouldn't put anybody off any horse on account of the draw here. He's drawn out wide. Now, high numbers have a good record winning in recent years, but I think it's fairly fair overall because loads of horses have gone close from low. And the other one is Top Tug, who is drawn 2. He was 4th in that race, race around the outside all the way. He just wants a little bit further than 1 mile 4 furlong. He was very, very impressive when he won at Goodwood in May, and he was second to Frontiersman before that.
You do love an Alan King, don't you, Chris?
I do like an Alan King horse. I do like Alan King. I think he's an excellent trainer. He had a few winners over jumps recently as well, so I don't think there's anything wrong with the yard. And I just think Top Tiger is a horse that has improved this year. He ran no sort of race in this race last year, but he's got 3 very good runs to his name at York.
Okay, and James, it's nice, isn't it, going into this this final day, that we don't really have to worry about ground or whether it's going to rain or not. We know it's going to be good ground, don't we? There's no rain forecast, is there?
Well, the one I looked at this morning, there was a little bit forecast overnight, but only a little bit.
Oh, actually, that's a question we should ask, because we've all got our own favourite weather app. What's yours?
I like the BBC. People
do you?
knock it. Yeah, people knock it. It's worked for me.
Okay, jolly
Yeah,
good. Kills, what's your one again? ARNK or something, isn't it?
YR.NO.
YR.NO, the coolest web address in the world. Frank Hickey, without further ado, who's your Ebor fancy?
Well, I had a look at it this morning. I narrowed it down to 4, and I'll go in order. I think Natural Scenery ran a cracker in Northumberland Plate. I think she will win a decent handicap, probably a small bit better than your weather. So then I had a look at Magic Circle, who was very impressive Wednesday, but it's a big ask to back it up 3 days later in a race like this, but I could see him running well. Then the two that interested me were Nikita, who's finished 4th and 2nd twice in 3 runs at York. 2nd, Die Harold, who will win today, I think, earlier in the season. And I think he'll go very well. But I think for win purposes, who I think will win is actually Battersea, who was he was 4th last year off £2 higher. Roger Varon has gone for David Egan to claim 5 off. He's very capable. So in effect, he'll be running off 100 here. He hasn't won now since Maidan last February. But that was off, I think, 98, and he won really well. He was gelded over the winter, came back at Ascot in the Sagaro Stakes. He was held up off a crawl, had no chance. They've held him back for this. He's got a decent draw on 15, as Paul alluded to earlier. High draw is perfect, perfectly fine. I can see him going really well, and 14-1 is a very nice each way price.
Are you going to be getting the scattergun out, Frank, or are you just going to focus on 1 or 2 of those 4, do you think?
I'd probably have a small bit each way in Nikita, and I'll have a bigger each way bet in Battersea.
Do you go for the old glory shot with the tri-casts and everything as well?
I never do, no.
Don't you?
No, it's not something. I don't think I've ever done it.
Really? Blimey,
No.
I should be doing your 4 in forecast and tri-cast. We'll start with we'll move on rather to the first of the televised races, the 155. It's the Betfred Mobile Strensall Stakes over a mile and a furlong, and it's a Group 3. And Frank, take it away with the betting.
Yeah, Mondial East is 11-4, Mustachery 3-1, Master of the World 5-1, Make Time 11-2, Sovereign Debt 6-1, Forest Ranger 12s, and Gabriel is 14.
Kills, we'll start with you simply because there's so many old friends here. I mean, you must be getting a little bit dewy-eyed at the thought of all these lovely horses running against each other. Who are you going to go for?
Yeah, there are a few old favourites here. Obviously, I love Gabriel, and Sovereign Debt's been in brilliant form this year. But the one to be on, or at least it was the bet of the week earlier in the week when some bookmakers were going 7-1, is Mondial East. It's funny because we've got the mile race, the Celebration Mile at Goodwood on the same day, and this race was full of horses that were entered in both races. And Mondial East only had this one on his radar, and he was always going to run here, and all the others among the favourites weren't, and that's what's turned out. And he's now sort of 11-4 favourite, which I think is the right price. He won this race a couple of years ago. He's right back to almost his very best last time when he probably found the trip a little bit too far. He was beaten a nose by Success Days, who got the run of the race out front and battled back and just got back up. But I think if Mondial East is still at his best, he'd take the world of beating.
So the 11-4 still value, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's still a reasonable bet. I mean, I wouldn't be chunking on. I had a decent each way bet on him earlier in the week at 7s, but obviously now there's only 7 runners and he's 11-4. But I do think he's the most likely winner. Okie
doke, James, what do you fancy?
It's a tough little opener. It's between Mondial East and Mustachery, I think. And I always prefer to go with a more younger, improving type of horse. He wouldn't want any rain at all, so it's got to remain dry for him. But if it keeps drying out, he should get the trip fine. He stays very well and looks to be going in the right direction. So
Mustachery for James. Who for you, Frankie?
Yeah, I priced this morning, and I was shocked Mustachery isn't fav, to be honest. What he did at Chelmsford was quite remarkable. He was out the back, looked to be in a terrible position, and managed to mow them all down the outside, beating Matham Star and Manson, who were decent enough yardsticks. If you go back to last year, he was second in that Clipper Logistics handicap that was run yesterday. He was second, only beaten half a length by Firmament. He'd like the Spark, Plug and Fanciful Angel behind, so it was a decent enough renewal. He looks like, I know it's kind of cliche, but your typical improving 4-year-old from Sir Michael Stout. I think he should be fav, and I think he'll win.
225 is the Betfred Melrose handicap, mile and 6. And wide open, Frank. How do Paddy Power bet?
Yeah, Intellect is 13-2, On to Victory and Secret Advisor 8-1, Bin Batuta 9-1, Master Singer, The Grand Vizier 10-1, Here and Now and Northwest Frontier are 12-1, and we're 14-1 bar.
Frank, you can go first. It's your go.
Yeah, like this is one I put up a couple of weeks back at Ascot. I don't think it's time to give up on him just yet. It's a horse of Ed Walker's called Dark Pearl. He was third that day at Ascot, but there was an unexposed horse of Godolphins that day beat him called Royal Associate. He was really chucked in, and the second Niblawi has run really well since as well, and the fourth has come out and only been beaten a neck or half a length since. Dark Pearl probably didn't handle this off ground because he was keen enough and didn't get home. I think they returned to a little bit better ground. I think 83, he's not an 83 horse. He'll be over 90 at least, possibly even close to 100 come maybe this time next year. He's a big price as well. I think he's like 20-1.
You've got him in at 16s.
16. I think there's as big as 20s out there. I'll definitely be having each way betting that.
And you're 5 places again, 5th odds there. So
We
that's
are, yeah.
good. Okay, James, what's your Melrose fancy?
Yeah, there's I think a very interesting horse at the bottom. A horse called Radician. Had one bit of very good form as a 2-year-old when he ran in the Zetland behind some horses which have now proved to be top class. One of them was a certain Derby winner called Wings of Eagles. So that's very good form. He's since switched from Peter Chappell-Hyam to David O'Mara. He was given an Irish Guineas entry at the start of the season. He's stepping up a lot in trip. He's going up from 1.25 miles. But he seems to be finishing his races off well. So he definitely needs a step up in trip of some degree. And he potentially, I think, could be very well handicapped.
And he's 33-1, James.
Yeah.
Aye.
I mean, Bin Batuta at the top of the weights would be a more solid pick. I mean, that won very nicely, I thought, at Ascot, coming from wide last time out. But I would definitely recommend a saver on that horse. He just does look very interesting.
That's Radician, number 18. Kills, what do you reckon?
Yeah, that was the Radician trained by David O'Meara. I said Mark O'Meara, David O'Meara. And I like his other one, Shim Kent. He's booked Harry Bentley for it. He was successful, I think, on Magic Circle earlier in the week. Now, he was obviously quite well regarded. He started off with Roger Varian, moved, same ownership, moved over to O'Meara, won his first maiden, and then Then O'Meara ran him in the Cocked Hat Stakes at Goodwood, the last of the classic trials, if you like, which was won by Khalidi, and he didn't show anything, but he came back out and he won next time, and he got outpaced at Royal Ascot, ran on late, and then he ran at Goodwood last time, and he got no sort of run at all. And was finishing really strongly late on, and I just think the two of the horses that finished in front of him, Walton Street, the winner, is quite clearly miles ahead of his mark. He was a once race maiden winner who just absolutely bolted up, and Londinium was second, who was trying to go for a quick double that Mark Johnson often pulls up. I think that's really solid handicap form. And I think Shimkent is absolutely crying out to go up another couple of furlongs. There's plenty of stamina on the dam side, and I think there's.
You right there, Kills?
Yeah, sorry, I've got a bit of a dry throat, mate.
Okay,
I'm chunking away on the water here, but it's not really helping.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll take it. You've made a very convincing case for Shimkent, so we'll move on to the Jim Crack, and we'll get the other two's view, so you can glug a bit of water down
glug away, yeah,
and come back fresh with your Jim Crack stake. So 3 o'clock ITV. It's the Albasti Equiworld Jim Crack Stakes, one of the most prestigious 2-year-old races, 6 furlongs. And again, it's a really competitive affair, this, Frank, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Headway is our favourite at 7-2. Then Card Sharp and Nebo are 9-2. Invincible Army 6-1. Frozen Angel 8-1. Sands of Mali 10-1. Nobleman's Nest 12-1. And we're 16-1 bar.
Wide open this one, James. You got a strong fancy?
Not a strong one, but I think a horse of a good each-way chance is Frozen Angel. I think that was his first run last time over 6 furlongs in the Phoenix Stakes. But I thought he did really well there. He was stuck out on the wing, finished better than anything else. And his form's working out pretty well. I mean, he was behind Unforgettable and another horse of Anna Gray. I think they finished first and second in the Pre-Morny last weekend, Group 1. So he would have a stronger chance as any. I mean, it's fairly open. Headway probably has the best form of all in the Coventry. But Frozen Angel, I think, has got potential to improve again over this trip.
Okay, Frozen Angel for James Hill. What about you, Frankie?
Yeah, like, the likes of Headway, Nebo, Card Chap, they set the standard. Card Chap has to give a £3 penalty away. One that interested me at a bit of a price was Richard Fahey's Sands of Mali. Now, he was down the field in 7th on his debut here in the maiden, but he didn't run without promise, and he went to Nottingham then next time, and he absolutely bolted up, and it was very impressive too how he did it. He went out in front. The second came up to him at about the furlong pole, looked like he was going to cruise by him, and he just kicked and went again. And he's won by nearly 4 lengths in the end. Mightily impressive. Now, it's all the more impressive to consider the second has gone on and won a listed race at Newbury since. So while on the bare numbers you would think he's got an awful lot to find with the likes of Nebo and Card Sharp and Headway, this race it's not unusual for a bit of an outsider to win.
And there's a lot of fairly exposed horses here as well, isn't he? He's one of the less exposed, isn't he?
He's most definitely one of the less exposed. I actually thought the return to slightly better ground might even help him. He's by an American sire. Like, I don't know much about breeding, but normally they prefer a little bit of better ground. So I think we're 10-1. There's as big as 14s out there. I will have a nibble each way of that, to be honest.
Kills, have you composed yourself?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, but I've got this tickle in the back of my throat, so it might come back. So
okay,
we'll
tell us the name of the horse and then the why. And if you pull up halfway through.
Well, like Frank said, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the unexposed types did sort of improve, because a lot of the ones that have run a fair bit, they don't set an absolute standout sort of standard, but. Having said that, I do think Headway is by far the most likely winner. I mean, I'd completely rule out his run at Goodwood on the soft ground beyond Barricaro last time, and I just don't think he quite had the run of the race in the Coventry. He only got beat ahead by Raja Singh, which I was quite pleased about at the time because I was on Raja Singh. But that was on fast ground, and I think the more it dries out, the more it'll suit him, and I think he's a strong traveller. And I do think he's the most likely winner. He's probably the right price now.
You think Harry Bentley's going to have a good day then, Kills?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Lovely stuff. Anything else at York for you, James? Not your nap. Keep your nap dry, okay?
Keep my nap dry. There's a few towards the end, particularly like in the last race, Copper Knight. Tim Easterby Yard seems to be in really good form, so I think that one can defy top weight. In the listed sprint, Out of the Flames, I think probably got the best form, so I'll go for that one.
That's in the 410.
That's in the 410, and then the penultimate one, the Jack Berry. 440, Nicholas T has always looked the type to improve for a step up in trip. So, I mean, he has run over this trip before, but I think now he's maturing a bit. This sort of mile and a quarter will be more his distance.
And another Callum Rodriguez. Okay, Frank, anything else at York for you?
A horse that I've tipped up a few times, and he will win a big one, and I'm hopeful that'll be tomorrow, is UAE Prince.
Oh, yes.
As in, he looked all over the winner of the John Smith's Cup. It was kind of galling. He took it up maybe about 2 furlongs out, and he had them. He looked like he was just hanging on, and then the last 50 yards, 3 of them went by him. He's only beaten a length. Then a go with the last time, he was a bit more restrained. But he got slightly impeded when trying to make his effort. Again, he's finished 4th, beating 2 1/4 lengths. Back to York, Harry Bentley might be in for an unbelievable day. I think this has to be involved. I'd imagine it'll be some sort of an each-way price. I'll be getting right stuck into
this. That's the UAE Prince in the 440. Kills, was that you clearing your throat, or was that the dog I could hear?
That was the dog. Sainsbury's has just turned up with a shop. So
is your wife there to administer things, or do you have
no? But my daughter
dog?
is. No, she went out.
Good.
So we've
Zoe
got
Lee's in charge, yeah.
Yeah, she's in charge. Yeah.
Righty-ho. Okay, anything else at York that isn't in app that we should be backing?
Yes, Baydar in the 440. Now I'm sort of kind of hoping that the bookmakers will look at these form figures of 7-0-0-0, and rather than the way he actually ran at Goodwood last time, because he would have gone very close in that opening race on the first day. He was beaten 5 3/4 lengths, 11th of 16 in the end, but he got no sort of run whatsoever. Now at the end of last season, he was massively improving. He beat Scarlet Dragon at Newbury in September in a really, really good handicap. That was when Scarlet Dragon was rated 99, and he's 110 now, and amongst the market leaders for the Ebor. That was off levels, and Baydar is now only within £1 of that mark, because he's dropped back to that sort of rating. And I just think he's miles better than he looked at Goodwood last time. And as long as the ground doesn't get too fast. Now, he has one on good to firm, but he does like a little bit of ease. As long as he don't get too fast, I think he's a massive player. The only thing I say is he didn't actually travel that well until the latter part of the race at Goodwood. So Hugo Palmer's put cheek pieces on for the first time. I think that's a good move, and I think he's going to be a massive player.
So the lads all take a conflicting view on the 440 at York. Paul Keeley likes Bader. Frank the Tank likes UAE Prince, and James Hill likes Nicholas T. Right, competition time on Monday. We asked you, who won last year's Juddmonte International? Who was it, James?
Gosh.
Anyone? Last year's Juddmonte International. Postponed. Well done, Frank.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You knew, and so also did Rob Kerr from Chelmsford. Congratulations, Rob. A free £25 bet will be credited to your Paddy Power account, and there's another chance to win a £25 or €25 free bet with Paddy Power in Monday's Postcast.
Paddy Power are offering money back as a free bet if the horse you back finishes second, third or fourth to the SP favourite in 2 races today and every day this month. Max £25 per race. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
We are off to Goodwood on Saturday. 3 races live on ITV, starting with the Prestige Stakes over 7 furlongs at 2:10. Frank Hickey, how do Paddy Power bet on this one?
Veranda is our 3-1 favourite. Billiston Brook 7-2. Peace Trail 4-1. Quivery 11-2. Izzy Bizu 13-2. Ertiad 10-1. And we're 16-1 bar.
Frank, at any stage in this podcast, will you be doing that little pause when I come to you and you tell me why something's a certainty? Will that be happening? Just yes or no. Will that be happening today?
Maybe just right now. No.
Okay. So we'll stick with you for the 2:10 then.
Yeah, this one is strange because I think German Seed has a horse in this called Quivery, and it was very well fancied on debut at Doncaster, and it didn't let supporters down. And then it went to Newmarket, and while on the face of it, it wasn't very impressive for an 8-11 favourite. She was giving away £7 that day in the penalty, and she's Group 1 entered. I'd say this is very good. When looking at the stats then for this race too, and it's 2008 was the last time a horse had come in off the back of 1 run winning a maiden. And you've the likes of Veranda, Peace Trail are coming in with that kind of profile. While Billiston Brook, of course, was incredible in that nursery at Gowo. But this is a fair step up in class. And I have a feeling this Quivery could be very, very good. And we haven't seen the best for yet. And I think 11-2 is too big. And you could back it each way even at that price if you want.
Kills, what's your view on that? Okay, right, Quivery for Frank. What about you, Kills?
Yeah, I love Billiston Brook. Obviously, back to Goodwood, back to the time before at Sandown. Now, last time was just ridiculous. I mean, she got no sort of run whatsoever, and I was hoping that she would be left for a late run, but not as late as it was because she had about 8 lengths to find in the final furlong, and as soon as she got in the clear, she absolutely flew. Now, I think she showed that sort of speed at Sandown as well, but she went too soon, but she was beaten in a photo. That was in listed level. And she was only beaten a neck by the winner to Janus, who came out and won the Sweet Solera the other day, which is a Group 3. So I don't think she's actually got that much to find at all. In fact, with any of these, in fact, a lot of them are lightly raced, and I think that she's a bit street smart. And if she gets a run, I think she's got a real good change of pace. Now, obviously, we don't know about the ones that have only run once. Veranda is a half sister to Spacious, for instance, and has got Group 1 entries and could be anything. Trained by John Gosden, an obvious favourite. But I think Billiston Brook is very professional, and if she gets a clear run, I think she'll win.
James, what do you think?
Well, yeah, Billiston Brook's got obvious claims. I mean, that was so impressive what she did at Goodwood. But we are talking about a lot of very unexposed horses here, and Veranda was extremely impressive on debut at Kempton. I mean, she really left those horses behind.
Astonishing run, wasn't it?
Yeah, very, very impressive. I think the second horse has entered in the group race herself. So John Gosden putting her in this sort of grade, stepping up immediately from that, I think you've got to take notes. I'd side with her over Billiston Brook.
So you just, on the basis that there's so much potential there, you just may as well
the Nasida filly as well, you've got to take her into account. It's Quivery.
Should be an interesting race, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
2:45 is interesting. It's the Goodwood Revival Handicap. Paddy Power's betting is as follows.
Just give me 1 second.
What's happened, Frank?
Ultimate Avenue is 6-1. Johnny Barnes 7-1. Midjack 9-1. Raucous 10-1 along with Mukalal. Sutter County is 12-1. Swift Approval, Bertie Whittle, Truth or Dare, Susie's Connoisseur 14-1, and we're 16-1 bar.
James is thinking to himself, what have I let myself in for? There's Frank pausing, Killsy's dog barking, the Sainsbury's man turning up. Honestly, it's quite professional here sometimes.
Yeah.
Right, go on then, Frank. You lead on.
I'm going to take one at a massive price here, called Shady McCoy. Sorry, I'm
That's
after
all right,
losing
mate.
my train of thought. Now, he's not got a great draw on 16. It's actually quite a poor draw, but his Goodwood form is it's actually quite strong. He's won here twice. He's been fourth here earlier in the season, beating a couple of lengths in a strong handicap off a £2 higher mark, and he was sixth in this race last year off a higher mark. Again, he had a similarly unfavourable draw, but I think if he can get in a half decent position, he is well handicapped. I think he's very much overpriced at 25-1. I think like if he had a draw under 10, I would think he's more like a 8-10-1 shot.
Really?
So,
You're 16s.
like I think the draw is a big negative, but I think if he can get any bit of a position early, he shouldn't be that price.
And a fifth of 5 places with Paddy Power again, with Paddy Power on the Racing Post app. So that's good. Kills, who'd you like here?
Horse I really like his favourite. It's Ultimate Avenue. You have to bear in mind that you're putting in trusted Jamie Spencer on a hold-up horse at 7 furlongs round Goodwood in a 20-runner race. So the potential for disaster is obviously there. But I don't think he needs to be held up right out the back. And I think he's at least £10 ahead of his mark. He was quite well regarded last year. He ran in a group race in the autumn, didn't run that badly. And after blowing out over a mile at Kempton in April, he came out and he ran over 6 furlongs at Newmarket in a 100 grand handicap, and he probably should have won it. If he'd have got a clearer run, he would have done. He's up £3 for that. That was in the first time tongue tie. He wants the extra furlong without a shadow of a doubt. And if he's not a much better horse than 100, then I haven't been watching the right races.
That's pretty definite. Kills loves Ultimate Avenue. Who do you love, James Hill?
Well, it's interesting. I looked at previous runnings of this race, and most of the winners are drawn low, which is disappointing, given a lot of the ones I fancy are drawn high. Look, I'm going to go with Masham Star. I think he's been pretty consistent all season. He ran well recently at Goodwood as well. I think the drop back to 7 furlongs shouldn't be a problem. He's got plenty of early speed, and we know Mark Johnson's horses go so well at Goodwood, so I'm going to go with Masham Star.
Righty-ho, and the 320 is the Grosvenor Sport Celebration Mile. And Lightning Spear, have they found a winning opportunity for him? What price is he, Frank?
He's even money. Hathal is 11-4, Zonderland 4-1. Oh, This Is Us 14s, along with Richard Pankhurst, and Opal Tiara is the outsider of the field at 33-1.
Big step, well, not a big step, but it's a step down in class for Lightning Spear. James, is he a good thing?
Well, I'm not sure if he is. Last year's form you'd say he would be, but Bruce, he's disappointing me at the moment, particularly in the Queen Anne. He was very disappointing then. I was expecting a big run that day. That was expensive. And I know he was third last time in the Sussex Stakes, but it was a very odd race.
Oh, was it ever?
He's £7 higher, I think, than the winner. Here Comes When, and Ribchester running such a strange race. You thought that was a bit of a gilt-edged opportunity, and he didn't take it. He's not finishing his races off as well as last season, so I will go for the horse who finished second to him 12 months ago, Zonderland. I know he's having his first run, but he goes well fresh, and given Lightning Spear doesn't seem to be quite the same horse recently, I will go with Zonderland.
Kills?
Yeah, not my sort of bet, but I think Lightning Spear will win. I wouldn't be too harsh on him for that, because that was a weird race at Goodwood, and it was very deep ground at the time. And I question his stamina sometimes anyway. But, with the ground drying out is more in his favour than it is to second favourite Hathal. And I do think he's got an awful lot going for him. He's even money. I won't be having a bet in the race, but I think he'll win.
Frankie?
I'm not a fan of Lightning Spear in general. While he is the most likely winner, obviously, and even money would reflect that. He wouldn't be my kind of bet. Zonderland, you just have to take and trust that he'll be ready to rock. I'd be willing to give one at a massive price a little bet here, and that's This Is Us of Richard Hannon. He's obviously touched off earlier in the season at Doncaster when Ryan Moore was going for that 4-timer, saved us a fortune, but he's gone on and won a listed race at Haydock. Was probably unfortunate not to win the Diomed Stakes at Epsom. He actually finished ahead of Lightning Spear and the Queen Anne, although they were both well down the field, there was hardly anything between them. But he's not that far behind Lightning Spear, and Lightning Spear doesn't win that often. He hasn't won since last year, even though he runs well a lot of the time. I just think 14-1, oh, this is us. He's only a 4-year-old on the up, I think. I'd be willing to give him a little bet at that kind of a price.
We're also racing at Cartmel, at Chester, at Killarney over in Ireland, Newmarket, Redcar, Windsor, and various international locations as well. So, not the races we've covered and not the race that's your nap. Anything else, James, that we need to know? And don't forget the Golden Postcast rule. You have to tell us what time the race is and where it is as well.
Well, I like Hockfeld at Newmarket. Okay. That's running in 350, 1 mile 6 handicap. I think these older stayers this season, they're not very good. And I'm looking for a kind of progressive 3-year-old type. He's got good form and he should handle the track well. So I'm going to go with Hockfeld.
Righto, Kills?
Yeah, unfortunately, the only one I had was in the same race. That is Blakeney Point. I mean, I just think he's just a really tough horse who's been in cracking form all season. You know, each run seemed to be getting better. Second to Soldier in action at Goodwood last time at this trip. I think he's got to be there or thereabouts.
OK, and over to Frank Hickey for his roundup. How many horses is it, Frank?
4.
4, go on then.
So 355 Goodwood, Count Octave. He was taken out of the Vulture during the week. Of course, he was second in the Queen's Phase, only beaten a neck by Stradivarius, who's gone on and won the Goodwood Cup. He's an absolute certainty for that 355.
There you go, there is a certainty.
Oh, he is a certainty. I think he'll go on and... he's a Ledger horse, I'd say. I can see him running well in the Ledger. In Killarney, the 345, Rathvinden, who of course finished second in the Neptune all those years ago to Faugheen. He's come back from a layoff. Needed his first run, he was second, but he's won 2 chases. The last time at Galway, to my mind, he was wildly impressive. It looks like he retains all his ability. They even mentioned the Drinmore after that Galway win. He'll take all the beating that 345 at Killarney. In Newmarket, a newcomer, so I'm taking a bit of a chance, but Betty F is a Frankel filly trained by Jeremy Nacida. They don't half ramp him. This is Group 1 entered as well. It's not the strongest looking maiden. Willie Haggis and Michael Stout have 2 Al Haktoum horses in there that could be half decent, but I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if this went well. Probably could be off the boards too if it is.
What time's that?
That's the 2:05 at Newmarket, and the 4:25. The listed 6 furlong sprint. Polybius won this 2 years ago. He's come back this year. Was probably unlucky in the walking to be on the wrong side. He flashed home for 4th. And then last time over 5 furlongs last again, he was second to Danzino. While on the figures, it looks like he's a bit defined. The step up to 6 will suit. He'll probably be a good each way price. And I can see him running very, very well.
Thank you very much. Let's get the naps.
This will not be beaten.
Big drum roll for James Hill's first ever Postcast nap. Who is it, James?
It's got to be Nikita, the Ebor, my favourite flat race. So I'm very much hoping that's going to run.
Nikita in the 335 at York. Good luck, Keels.
Yeah, got to be Ultimate Avenue, 245 Goodwood. Put your faith in the fact that it'll be Jamie and not Frank Spencer on board in the afternoon.
OK, and Frank Hickey.
The 155 York, Mustache should be favourite. I'd say he will be favourite. He will win.
Righty-ho, let's look at Sunday in just a mo.
Paddy Power are offering money back as a free bet if the horse you back finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th to the SP favourite in 2 races today and every day this month. Max £25 per race. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Racing Post, Weekend Postcast, Bruce Millington, James Hill, Paul Keeley and Paddy Powers. Frank Hickey looking ahead to Sunday's action. They're racing at Beverley and Goodwood and Yarmouth in Britain, and over in Ireland we've got the action at the Currow, which is where we will start. We've got some really good races there. Kills, have you had a big Irish study up?
I haven't had a massive study up, no.
OK, well, James, you've had a look, haven't you?
I've had a look, yeah.
Jolly good. Well, we'll start with Frank, though, because Frank's really the king of the Irish track. So we'll go with the 2 o'clock, the Flame of Tara. It's a Group 3-4 fillies. I don't think we've got any betting yet, Frank, have we? So we'll just have some tips.
Yeah, because we're out a little bit early with the podcast this morning, we don't have the Curragh priced up, and the link, the Cambridgeshire is still down. But look at the 2 o'clock. Look, Ballish, who should win in all-no form. I would be keeping an eye on the market though, because it's happened a few times this year already where Aiden's second string lightly raised have come alive, and this Bye Bye Baby wasn't given a hard time on debut of the Curragh at all. Basically given a hands and heel ride into 6 to be beaten 6 lengths. I'd just be keeping an eye to see if that attracted attention, but in all likelihood Ballish will take an unbelievable amount of beating here.
I'm going to stick with Frank for the time being, and then I'll come to the guys for their Irish thoughts. So we'll go 2:35, the Plus Vital Round Tower over. It's a Group 3, and Frank, who wins this?
Yeah, I know that Ball Girl is well regarded for Dur Lines. Beaten on debut, I think, at Gordon, and came won then at Roscommon. And US Navy Flag obviously sets the standard based on his second in the July Stakes. He was 4th in the Phoenix Stakes last time, so that is the standard bearer really. But Landshark was one of Jessie Harton's that was off the boards on debut at Leopardstown, and she knows the time of day. It obviously must be working really well, and of course they have the likes of Brother Bear to measure it against at home. I'd imagine because the profile with having US Navy Flag probably will be fav, this could be 7-8 to 1, possibly even a small bit bigger. I'll definitely have an each way bet on that.
Okay, that's Landshark in the 2:35. Anything else there?
The 310.
Yeah, we'll go the 310. That's the Snow Fairy, another Group 3.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
That's a 345.
Oh, pardon me. 345.
345. The Snow Fairy. Yeah. I haven't had much of a look at this race, to be honest.
Okay.
Look, Rain Goddess, if she was able to repeat her run in the Irish Oaks, she'd probably take a bit of beating.
Okay, before we do the Irish Cambridge, anything in the group races at the Curragh for you, James?
Well, I think Ballish should win. Been pretty impressive on its 2 starts to date. That's in the Flame of Tara. Round Tower, well, Aidan O'Brien, I think he's won 2 of the last 3 or 4 runnings, so I'm going to stick with US Navy Flag there. Good form in the Phoenix and also the July Stakes. And Intimation in the Snow Fairy. That's Sir Michael Stout. Very interesting runner. It's got an entry in the Matron later on in the next couple of weeks. So that could be a bit of a dress rehearsal for that one.
Jolly good stuff. Kills, anything else in the 3 group races?
Well, I echo everything they said about Ballyshoes, and I did like Landshark as well. I'll leave that one to Frank. In the what was it, the 345? I'd be quite keen, I think, to take on Rain Goddess. I mean, she's quite admirable, but she and a half been doing a lot of running. I mean, she's had 7 runs. She ran in the Irish Oaks when she was second to Enable, and she's been to Arlington and finished down the field, and now she's coming out and dropping back further in trip for this race. I think I'd take her on, and I quite like Dawn of Hope. It seems to have been running well. Wasn't beating a million miles at Royal Ascot, and then finished the next second to Lincoln Rocks, who won a handicap at York yesterday off top weight. I think that's a fairly decent bit of form, and I think that'll go well for Roger Varian. Dawn of Hope.
Thank you. Let's do the 420, and it's the Tote Irish Cambridgeshire, and we've got some Paddy Power bets. And have you got that to hand, or do you want me to read it out, Frank?
You can read it out there if you have it.
Okay, good. Right, 6 to 1 Dream Walker, 10 Hibu, 10 Gold Spinner, 10 Only Human, 12 So You Thought, 14 Foxtrot Charlie, Pincheck and Stormy Bell, and 16 to 1 Bar. Frank, who's going to win this one?
I can't be confident he'll win, but there's a horse of Gavin Cromwell's called Breathe Easy, who is a massive fan of the Curragh. You only have to look through his form. He's always on the premises. His mark of 89 is probably fair enough. It's he's finished second beaten ahead last September off 88. But what's interesting is Danny Sheehy claims 7. He's very capable, and that £7 could be vital. He's 20 to 1. Look, it's not with massive confidence I'm tipping him up, but at 20 to 1, a horse that goes really well to Curragh, he's definitely worth a few bob each way.
That's Breathe Easy for Frank Hickey. James, have you sussed one here for us?
Well, I like the Gerlines horses in these big Irish handicaps. So Gold Spinner with the first-time blinkers is worth an interest. I think it won earlier in the season, and if it gets back to that sort of form, maybe needs to improve a bit on that, but if it can do, should be in the mix.
God's sake, don't give him another reason to have a go at the Racing Post. He's always having a go at the Racing Post. It's Gerlines, not Ger.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Sorry, Ger.
That's right. Don't worry. Kills.
Oh, God, one of my absolute horror shows of a horse in here. Dream Walker. His favourite, right, he's an 8-year-old. 2 years ago, I was smashing into this horse off marks of 75 and 80 and whatever, and he kept getting beat, and I gave up on him. And lo and behold, the middle of 2016, bang, win. And he's now rated 96. So it'll just annoy me if he wins. Really, I don't think he's ever done me any favours. But if there's another British raider that could go well, it'd be Hibu. I think he's just been running really, really well. Was second 2 starts, beat Matcham Star, 2 starts ago at Hamilton in a good Class 2 at Hamilton. Obviously, Matcham Star's been doing a lot of running and is a decent horse. And then was second in the Premier Handicap at Galway at the beginning of this month to Riven Light at 16-1. I think 10-1's probably a fair bet for a horse that's obviously in very, very good form.
Okay, Frank, anything else at Curragh?
Nothing for me, no.
Right, anything at Beverley or Goodwood, chaps? Got some decent stuff down there at Goodwood. We've got a group race at 4:30, the Supreme. Anything catch your eye, James?
Dutch Connection, I think, has got a good chance in that. Won the Lennox last year, I think, and 7 furlongs on a track like Goodwood with the ground drying out. That's much more his cup of tea than it has been of late.
Kills out for you.
I just think if there's anything I wanted to take on, it would be Dutch Connection in that race at Goodwood. I just think he's not quite shown the form this year. Obviously he's dropping in class, but I would take a chance on Salatine. Drawn stall 1. Just been in really, really good form this year. If he gets rolled, if he gets an easy time in the initial sort of 2 furlongs and that, he might take a hell of a lot of pegging back on that downhill run.
Righty-ho, thank you, chaps. Weekend plans, James, what are you up to?
I'm off to Sussex. Need to find exactly where the address is. I'm going in Sussex, but it's somewhere on the Sussex Downs, not far off Goodwood. I'm not actually going to the races at Goodwood, just a friend's birthday party there.
Oh, right, excellent.
Nearby, so hopefully the weather will be nice.
You can't slip out and take in a few races down there, no?
I'll try to. It would be nice if I could.
Nice weekend off down in Sussex for James. Kills, what are you doing, mate?
Right, well, very shortly I'm about to go and play golf off my laughably low new handicap of 13. The spread on points scored is about 22-24.
This is the worst bit of handicapping I've ever heard. I've played golf with Kills for 20 years, and somehow he's ended up with a rating of 13. Whatever the opposite of handicap banditry is.
Everybody I've told about this handicap has literally wet themselves with laughter.
Brilliant.
Shock horror in the office the other day.
How did you get that? I don't know how this handicapping system works. I put 3 cards in, and I'd obviously been playing quite well, right? But I actually didn't put 2 other cards in because they were so embarrassingly crap. Yeah. I thought I can't show them that I'm that bad.
You haven't quite got the hang of this, have you? I wouldn't take up trying to race horses, Kills. I don't think it's for you.
So I'm playing golf tonight, and then I'll be on the Owl all night, and then I don't know what to do about Saturday. Do we bother with this McGregor-Mayweather fight?
No. It's a load of old bollocks.
You've got possibly one of the best boxers of all time going against a bloke who's been fighting MMA and UFC, which is the equivalent of A-level mugging, isn't it? You know what I mean? Spends half the time stamping on people's feet and writhing around on the floor. I mean, I don't get it, but so much money's been going on it. I was thinking about whether there could be a bet in it, right? And I thought, well, what about Mayweather by disqualification? Because obviously McGregor's going to realise when he can't hit him, he'll probably start getting his elbows out and kicking and stuff, And I had a look. There was nearly $3 grand queuing up at just 9.8 to back Mayweather to win by DQ. So
yeah, there is, by the way, there is a postcast out on that. Obviously against, I didn't sanction it at all, but producer Jack's all over it. He absolutely loves it. So producer Jack, what's the best bet on this fight? Because you love it, don't you? You're all over it, aren't you?
Well, I love boxing, but I'd have my best bet was either boxer to have a point deducted at, I think it was around 7-2, which I thought was huge. So.
Yeah, well, that follows on from what you're saying there, Kills. So you will get involved. You know you will. You stay up at 4 o'clock. You'll be paralytic.
Yeah, what time? Does anyone know what time the actual ring walk is likely to be?
They say 4, but it'll be more likely like half 6.
Like half 5,
Yeah,
Oh,
no interest.
God.
My son's in Australia. He's going to watch it in the pub there at 12:30 at lunchtime. That's far more
brilliant,
civilised, isn't it?
That's
so,
brilliant.
And then
nip across the Oz, shall we?
Yeah, and then recover on Sunday, Kills, yeah?
Yeah, got to cut the grass on Sunday.
Cut the grass. Well, no, big your estate is. That will take some time.
That's right.
Frank the Tank, what are the weekend plans for you? What's Jill got lined up for you?
Nothing. I'm working tomorrow and I'm working Sunday. I'm half hoping to get out a bit early to get to the Curragh on Sunday, but it's looking doubtful.
Can you do that? You can nick 2 or 3 races and then come into work, can you?
It'd be more come in early and get away early. Maybe miss the first 2 races and get down after that, but it depends how. I was half thinking of getting up to watch the McGregor fight and coming straight into work after it and getting out that way. But
I'm well out of that, I tell you. No interest whatsoever. OK, chaps, thank you very much. James, great debut. Thank you very much. Good luck with your tips. Well done, everyone. I hope you back plenty of winners. Don't forget, Maddie and the gang are back on Monday. And do please subscribe and rate us on iTunes.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Available to use online, at ATMs or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.